We always have, except on a Friday. I'm joking. We always have the columnist on page 10. Today it's David Wooding, guest columnist in The Sun. David, good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning, Julian.
Lovely to have you on. Looking as smart as carrots there in your tie. Much smarter than Richard Tice. Your headline is extraordinary. PM is a slave to the human rights law. He must free himself. He's never going to free himself. They're all his mates. Hermer's his mate. And it turns out that Lord Justice Bean, who made that appalling decision last week about the Epping Forest debacle, he was also a close mate. They're just a cabal, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, that was the point of my article, in fact, Jeremy, because Richard Tice was talking to you earlier in a fascinating conversation you had about the blob. In fact, what I think I've identified is the blob is no longer just a civil service. It's the courts. Yeah. The legal system is the roadblock to sorting out the migrant crisis. It's not only that, a lot of other things. You know, it always ends up going to the court to decide. It's as if the government has given up running the country and decided let the courts decide what to do. And Mr. Justice Bean has actually brought this to a head. Yeah. His decision to say that the rights of asylum seekers trumps the rights of the concerns of local people has made people realise that unless we make some changes to the law, then there's no way out of this. And what I'm saying here is that Sir Keir Starmer is a slave to the human rights industry. He was a human rights lawyer. Absolutely. He was director of public prosecutions, and he keeps telling us we stick to rule of law. Sooner or later, he's going to either have to change that law or scrap our membership of the European Convention on Human Rights. Couldn't agree more.
And the fact is, he can sit there and pontificate about how law is you know, human rights law, you know, is more important than your own people. That's what last Friday's judgment said. But I was talking to Harry Cole when the Orange Man Baby invited the European leaders, and we were doing a two-way on Drive. And I was saying that Starmer seems to head a government that's more interested about how we look globally than perhaps having its nose to the ground at home. And Harry Cole said to me, I've only been in America a month, Jez, and I'm telling you categorically, England's the laughing stock. It is not. You know, Americans will say, so you can't, you write some words, you go to jail for 31 months if you Lucy Connolly. The government protects migrants. No, they find it farcical. So I absolutely agree with you. The other great, I love your, I thought it was brilliant because you start your bit about Angela Rayner, and I haven't got big glasses. Angela Rayner's arrival in politics brought a much-needed breath of fresh air to the stuffy corridors of Westminster. Proud of her working-class roots, she speaks her mind and has first-hand experience of poverty, and yet, let's be honest, has completely thrown that right in the face of anybody who comes from a working-class background and has her nose in the trough more than probably all the Tories did when she was slagging them off. Would that be fair? Absolutely. If you look at everything Angela Rayner has said, in the last 10 years, she's always hurling abuse at the Conservatives, who she called scum at one stage, and was always talking about tax avoidance. And then it turns out she's hired this firm to try and save her £40,000 off stamp duty, and she's doing business with flipping the ownership, which is her first residence among the 3 houses she has. To try and cut a council tax liability, it seems. It's total hypocrisy. Can I also say, please do buy The Sun, please do read David Wooding's, but the best bit of it's all brilliant, but the best bit of all for me is this, ladies and gentlemen, just at the side, I love this. Stunt-loving Liberal Democrat leader Sir Ed Davey, we had this on last week, is boycotting this month's state banquet for Donald Trump at Windsor. You might have seen online last week, he said, God had spoken to me and me and Mrs Davey aren't coming. David Wooding put, did anyone tell him it was actually being held in a real castle and not a bloody bouncy one? Fantastic, Mr Wooding. Fantastic. We really appreciate your time. Just a quickie this morning, but a great article. David Wooding, guest columnist in The Sun, page 10 this morning. Have a watch, have a bio.